The final shape is here, finally, and with it comes a brand new set of ritual weapons. So today, we're going to be deep diving into these new weapons and ranking them based off their capability in a PvE environment to help you know if they're worth grinding for. Since the expansion just launched, I'm going to be giving you my first impressions of these weapons, which weapon perks might be the best and which ones have good archetypes. I'm also basing my rankings off of the other weapons that I have, so if you disagree with my rankings, don't worry, you're entitled to your wrong opinion. Remember to leave a like if you find this video helpful, and if you like seeing build videos and other Destiny 2 helpful content, consider hitting that subscribe button. With that being said, let's jump right on into it. I will be breaking these weapons down in the order of what slot they're in, and the first up on the list is a Strand rocket assisted sidearm, the Call. And let me tell you, this weapon is gonna hit harder than my mom's sandal. We currently only have one other rocket assisted sidearm in the game, that one being Arc, which is called Indebted Kindness. I fell in love with this weapon over the past season for two reasons. First, it hits hard, and with perks like Volt Shot, it can clear out a ton of enemies. And second, it has really good ammo economy. This new Strand version will be just as good, and it can synergize with your Strand builds. With perks like Demo, Subsistence, Stats for All, and even Lead from Gold, you have a ton of options to fit your build, giving you more options for reloading and ammo. But I think there are two main roles that I'm going for. First is Subsistence and Hatchling. This will let you basically never have to reload, and with Strand you have Unraveling rounds and now Threadlings to deal a ton of AoE damage. But I'm also very curious about a Demo and Adrenaline Junkie role. I've always loved this combo, since it helps you get your grenade back and deal more damage with this weapon. I think it would be a ton of fun with a build like the Precious Scars Strand Titan build that we put out a few weeks ago. Overall, I really think this might be the first weapon that I go for. It should hit hard, deal a ton of AoE damage, and have decent ammo economy, which is everything I could want in a weapon. Because it's so strong and has little to no competition, I'm giving this an S+ rank. Next on our list is a kinetic precision frame shotgun called Someday. I'm honestly gonna keep it short for this one. We already have a ton of options for a kinetic shotgun, and personally, I'm not a fan of the precision frame shotguns. There are a small use case scenario where you want to deal damage to a boss with them, however this weapon doesn't have good perks for that. Yes, it has Cascade Point and Vorpal, but it doesn't have a free reload perk like Reconstruction or Auto-Loading Holster. Since the only combo that I'll really be looking at getting is Threat Detector and Recombination, which is just a worse combination than Heritage, I'm gonna pass on this one, so it's getting a D rank for me. It feels more like a PvP weapon than a PvE weapon. And next on our list, I'm a big lover of the Warden's Law. Now that we're getting a Stasis version with the Bold Endings hand cannon, safe to say I'm pretty excited. No, it doesn't have Vorpal, so you might struggle to output the same amount of damage on bosses on a Lucky Pants build, but it does have some pretty decent rolls. With perks like Rapid Hit for reloading and Strategist for more class ability energy in the third column, you can pair that with Desperate Measures for more damage or Demolitionist for a ton of ability energy. I'm also super interested to try out the role with Headstone and Dragonfly. I'm wondering if you can create stasis crystals and then have that Dragonfly explosion immediately shatter them for a ton of instant damage, which would also pair nicely into some stasis builds. With its unique archetype and the perk combos, I'm excited to get my hands on this weapon, and I think it's going to be a very solid choice as a stasis primary. For that reason, it's getting an A rank from me. It will definitely be up there for one of the first weapons that I go after. And the next weapon we're looking at is Better Devils. This is a returning weapon that is a Strand version this time. Since it's a Crucible drop, it has a ton of perks that it can roll with. I don't play PvP that much, so it might take me a while to get the role that I want, but we don't have that many Strand hand cannons. Round Robin is probably the best option as it stands, but with this weapon getting perks like Demo, Reconstruction, and Rapid Hit in the third column for easy reloads, you can pair that with perks like Hatchling, Frenzy, or Explosive Payload. I think the role with either Demolitionist and Frenzy, or the role with Reconstruction and Explosive Payload are at the top of my list, but I'm also looking at a role that has Deconstruct in the fourth column. If we're getting more constructs to shoot, this will help deal more damage, plus it refunds ammo, so I can only imagine the amount of damage that a Lucky Pants Hunter could output with a combo like Reconstruction and Deconstruct on a construct. I'm giving this weapon an S rank for it being the best Strand hand cannon and providing some unique perk combos. It's definitely one that I will be shooting after, but again, it's a Crucible drop, so it might take me some time to get. And for the final weapon in our kinetic slot, we have the Origin Story. And this one's coming back with a new set of perks as a kinetic weapon. If I run a primary weapon, 9 out of 10 times I want a weapon that synergizes with my subclass. So this being kinetic, it already doesn't feel good for me. Not to mention that precision frame auto rifles have some of the lowest DPS for primaries. series. It can get perks like Demo and Attrition Orbs, or Kinetic Tremors and Surrounded. This could be a good beginner-friendly PvP weapon, since it basically has no recoil, but it's just not that good for PvE. With its perks being pretty decent, it gets a C from me. Otherwise, it would have ended up at D tier. And moving on to our energy slot, the first one we're taking a look at is going to be the Embraced Identity, which is a Void Adaptive Frame Sniper. We have some pretty good snipers out right now, but not that many Void options. Persuader is probably the best option out there, but it's very hard to get, and I, like most people, don't have the newest version of it with those really good perks, which is why I'm excited for the Embraced Identity. Overall, I'm not a huge fan of the adaptive frame for snipers, since I do like the rapid fire frame a bit better, but this weapon can roll with some amazing perks. Reconstruction with Precision Instrument has to be one of my favorite combos on a sniper. You can even get a bit crazy with a roll like Rewind Rounds and 4 times the Charm to basically never have to reload. Since it has my favorite perk combo and I don't have a Void Sniper with that combo, I really want to give it an S rank, but we have a ton of competition in the energy slot, like the Axial Sniper and the Uzume RR4, so I'm only going to be giving it an A rank. I will definitely be going for that god roll of this weapon, just maybe not right away. This next weapon has me a bit conflicted. The Axial Lacuna is a solar precision frame fusion rifle. On one hand, I don't like this weapon, but on the other hand, it's actually pretty solid. Let me explain. This weapon does have some pretty good perks, like Reconstruction with Controlled Burst, or Surrounded. On the other hand, in the Season of the Witch, we got Eremite, which is also a solar fusion rifle that rolls with Envious and Controlled Burst. The big problem is that precision frame fusions output the least amount of DPS for fusion rifles, so this weapon will feel like a worse version of Eremite, but I'm not sure how many people got the Eremite with Envious and Controlled Burst. So if you never got that roll, or you don't have an energy slot fusion that has Controlled Burst, then this is a good option, but there are better options out there. For me, this weapon ranks at a C. I might go for a Reconstruction Surrounded roll for a niche boss phase, but otherwise I have a better option in the Eremite. If you still need an energy slot fusion, then that might bump up to an A or B for you. And I love the idea of our next weapon. No Hesitations is a solar support frame auto rifle with the ability to deal damage when aiming down sights, and then when you start shooting from the hip, you can heal your allies. The weapon does have some pretty good synergy with the solar subclasses. In the third column, you can get perks like Demo and Strategist to get more grenade or class ability energy, or even the new Physic to give you and your team restoration by healing them. This does make me think that you could potentially get restoration times 2, since this weapon already says that it has this perk intrinsically, which also goes for the next perk in column 4 called Circle of Life, where you gain increased damage by healing. Otherwise, you could go for other great perks like Desperate Measures, Incandescent, or Frenzy. The only thing that I don't love is that I'm mainly a solo player, so I know I'm going to struggle to find this as a viable weapon. But if I'm running with a team, I think it could be a fun option that would pair well with fragments like Ember of Benevolence. Only time will tell if this will really be a strong weapon or a really weak one. I'm ranking this a B for now. I think in team play it could be an A rank, but in solo play it's probably a C or D, so I'm averaging it out at a B. And next on our list, we have an Arc Precision Frame Auto Rifle called the Shadow Price. And I'm honestly not too excited for this weapon. Since it's a Vanguard weapon, it will be hard to get a God roll. And even the best rolls still aren't that good. You can get the combo of Stats for All and Volt Shot, but not having a better reload perk in that third column is really holding this weapon back. Not to mention it's also a precision frame auto rifle, which, like the origin story, isn't the best. For the same reasons as to why I gave the origin story a C rank, this weapon's also going to get a C rank from me. Definitely not one that I'm going to be personally grinding for, but if I get a god roll, I'll probably keep it. And our final weapon in our energy slot is actually an interesting one. Hush is a returning solar precision bow that will drop from Gambit. The fact that it drops from Gambit already puts me off, but the perks are also only mid. It does have a really interesting combo where you can get hipfire grip and Archer's Gambit, so that you can basically use this bow as a hip firing machine gun, which might be fun, but I don't really think it's practical. It can get god rolls like Archer's Tempo and Incandescent, but with competition like Tyranny of Heaven and Priestanics, it's hard to say this bow will be the best. That being said, if you don't have a good roll on a solar bow, this can be a good option. Since I never grinded for the Tyranny of Heaven, I'm gonna be giving this a B rank. I will be going for a roll with Incandescent, but I'm just not a huge fan of bows. So taking a look at our heavy weapons, the first one on the list is False Idols, which is a solar vortex frame sword. In the past, I would have rated this weapon fairly low, but not today. In a recent interview with Games Radar, Weapons lead Chris Proctor said that machine guns and swords are coming up, and there's some new sword meta options coming. And this paired with the fact that the artifact has 4 perks directly buffing swords, now is the time to get the best in slot sword if you don't have one. While this sword won't be able to output as much damage as Bequest, it will be a fun solar option to use. With perks like Relentless Strikes and Surrounded, you can output decent damage, but you could also go for an ad clearing role like Unrelenting for increased healing, or Incandescent and Chain Reaction, so you can have some immense ad clearing potential, causing solar explosions everywhere. This sword, like many others, can't keep up with Bequest, but it can provide you with decent damage and some ad clearing fun. Plus, the origin trait gives you extra super energy. Since I don't have a good solar sword, I'm giving it an A rank. Normally, I might give this a B or a C, but with the shift in the meta, I'm moving it up a few places. As we previously mentioned, Chris Proctor also mentioned machine guns as up and coming. The next weapon we're looking at is Pro Memoria, a strand aggressive frame machine gun, and it's gonna be a unique one. This weapon is bringing a new archetype that sits in between the adaptive frames like Hammerhead and the rapid fire frames like Retrofit Escapade. My first thought is this is gonna be my new favorite archetype. I do like adaptive frames, but shooting slightly quicker sounds pretty good for ad clearing. And with perks like Demo and Hatchling in the 3rd column, or Frenzy and Dragonfly in the 4th column, you have some nasty ad clearing options. Or you can bring Reconstruction or Envious Assassin in the 3rd column, and Bait and Switch or Target Lock in the 4th column. Machine guns right now just aren't it for damage, but with the meta shifting, we could see a machine gun meta very soon. Because we don't have a ton of good options for strand heavies, and with the change in the meta, I'm ranking this an A+. I really want to give it an S rank, but I just can't with how machine guns have been recently performing in DPS phases. But who knows, that might be changing soon. Either way, you'll want to pick up this weapon sooner rather than later. And for our last weapon, we have the Scintillation, which is a strand adaptive burst linear fusion rifle. Let me start by saying we aren't in a linear fusion meta. However, this, in my opinion, is the new best linear. Plus, it's strand. We have almost no competition for strand linear. And with this weapon getting perks like Envious Assassin, Rewind Rounds, auto loading in the 3rd column, pairing that with Surrounded and Bait and Switch, you can output massive damage for a linear in a DPS phase. 3 burst linears deal more DPS than their single shot counterparts. The only other option that could compete with this weapon could be the Doom Petitioner, which can get Precision Instrument. But with this weapon getting Bait and Switch, you can get to that 30% damage buff faster. Both are fantastic options if or when linears come back to the forefront of the meta. So this is definitely a weapon that you're going to want to get. Since we don't have that many strand heavies to begin with, and this weapon is the new king of linears, I'm giving it an S rank. There are better options for damage as of right now, but when linears make their comeback, you'll definitely want this weapon. And there you have it, Guardians. We covered my rankings for the new weapons with the final shape. Remember, these are just my opinions. You're allowed to disagree with them. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more Destiny 2 content. Let me know in the comment section which weapons you're going to be grinding for first. I'm shooting for that strand sidearm with Demo and Hatchling. Keep an eye out for future videos as we continue to explore the ever-evolving world of Destiny 2. Until then, may the threads of fate be ever in your favor. This is Lucky Mech signing off. See you on the next adventure, Guardians.